Hello, America, and welcome back to another episode of the Hear Me Tell It, the life and times of Jerry Daniels. When you've had your daily dose of today's craziness, dealing with all them Karens out there, ride shotgun with old JD as he goes back and recounts the life and times of growing up in the South during the 60s and 70s. I believe we were called baby boomers. Stories that you will say, yep, I done that, but I ain't gonna tell my kids. And I ain't never told my spouse. But whatever the truth be, it will be this, to hear me tell it. Good morning, folks. Welcome to another episode of To Hear Me Tell It. Hey, I'm actually somewhat on time. Better than I was last week, that's for sure. I'm gonna make. Well, let me start. Let me back up. Okay, back up. Thank you for those who watch. There are about, ain't nothing about me. There's about 20 folks who seem to, y'all must be bored out of y'all's damn life to go, I'm going to log in and listen to or watch Jerry Daniels babble on either podcast or YouTube. Anyway, it's fun. It's a hobby. And who knows, maybe 50 years from now, my grandkids, his kids will go, man, my great granddaddy was a pretty cool dude. Or they're going to say, man, my great granddaddy was batshit crazy. Probably the latter of the two. All right. All that said and done. Please like, share, subscribe, all that stuff, and share it with folks. Again, it's a hobby. It's not a hobby with benefits. It's just a damn hobby. I'm going to make a confession. I know they say, Laura's go, be careful when you do stuff like that. I'm going to make a confession. And I know my buddy, Mr. Chris Clayton, he's probably goes, oh, hell, here we go. It ain't going to be nothing like that. You know, when I told, no, I ain't going to say that. Anyway, back up. The chickens are doing fine. Got one of my hens that's gone broody, but I broke her and within 48 hours I was able to break her because I did a lot of reading, like how do you do that? So I broke her, and she's back to laying an egg, and she's not thinking that she's a mama and she's got to sit on everybody's egg, so she's not broody anymore. Fall is definitely in full swing. Any of you folks that live in the south part of the United States want to come up and look at the leaves, stay home. There's enough damn people up here looking at leaves. We call them leaf lookers. They cause a lot of traffic problems because they all come north. And then we got the damn LJ and Gilmer County, and they all got the Apple Festival. And the weather is crappy. Now, last week we had pretty weather. I'm going to check the weather right now as we talk. But looking at the weather, we're predicted Saturday night or late Friday night, early Saturday morning. It's going to be in the 30s. So that's pretty nippy. But next week, the highs are going to be in the 60s, and the lows are going to be in the 50s. So it's going to be some really pretty weather. So it's going to be some pretty fall weather the first of next week. And I can't tell you anything after that. But when I say first, Tuesday or Wednesday of next week. So and it's miserable today. It's cold and rainy. We got painters here painting, and because I hate to paint, but Laura's in this thing. I don't know what Laura's doing, but I think maybe she's preparing her retirement home. Hell, I don't know what she's doing. Maybe I ain't going to be around. I don't know. But she's like, well, we got to get this. We got to do this. We got to do that. We got to do this. And then now it turned into, we got to paint this. We got to fix that. I'm like, well, damn, is there something going to happen that I don't know about? But anyway, we're getting it done. And it's a miserable day. It's cold. It's a as raw as Laura said yesterday. She goes, that's a raw cold. I'm like, you're damn right it is. It's just raw, and the winds are blowing, and it's mist and rain. It's gonna rain all day, so it's no day to let chickens out. I guarantee you that. Chickens are doing fine. They laid 12 eggs again the other day, and after I broke Miss Curly of being broody, and they're doing good. I don't know what to tell you. They're doing good. So, and they don't go as far in the woods. I don't know if it's about the weather or what, or there's less foliage. I don't know. They don't tend to take off running. It may have something to do with the fact that I kind of bait the backyard with dried worms before they take off, and they don't go as far. They just say, oh shit, there's food here. They may do that. Um, I'm not going to talk about politics today. Boy, I could talk a lot about politics. The government is still in shutdown. I'm not going to get started. I'm going to try to, y'all. The government's in shutdown, and I 100% unequivocally blame it on our politicians, and then I really put the blame on the Democrats. So I think what they're doing is shameful, and it is probably one of the most immoral, unjustified, just pure evil and selfish and greedy acts I've ever seen. And Chuck Schumer, I ain't got nothing good to say about you. And that Jeffries Hakeem or whatever his freaking name is. I will talk about politics. I'm going to change my damn mind. I'm going to say this, and nobody's going to see this. Maybe my buddy Mike LaFay, who's originally from Queens, New York. Mike, share this with any of your New Yorker friends that you may have. And Bob Gherkin, you share it with anybody out there in New England too. When I grew up, now I'm a baby boomer, so my adolescence and teenage years were in the 60s and the 70s. And I had never been to New York, and I still have never. I ain't never been downtown New York City, and I've got no desire to. I got none. None. But I grew up with this vision and impression that New Yorkers were hardcore patriotic Americans. Now, granted, they were from all different cultures. You had the Chinese, the Japanese, I guess you had the Vietnamese, maybe Koreans. You had the Italians, the Sicilians, the Irish, the Scots, the Jewish, the Anglo-Saxons, folks that came here for the European thing in the 1600s, 1700s. But I was always under the impression, it's just the way, and of course I was influenced by what? TV. And then what I read, and I didn't read a lot of books when Jerry Daniels was young, other than comic books or girly books. But I was under the impression that New Yorkers, they pride themselves in being hardcore, patriotic Americans. That's just the way I grew up. And here it is, 2025, and what I'm reading and what I'm being told is that the New Yorkers are about to elect a full-fledged 100% socialist / communist / Islamic extremist. Like, serious? I just thought New Yorkers were smarter than that. I did. I thought Curtis, I think Curtis with the guy that wears a red beret, I've been following him for years. I think he's awesome. And I can't for the life of me believe that the people of New York would elect a known socialist, communist. I'm shocked. You know what? And if they elect that freaking guy, hey, buddy, New York, you're going to get what you get. New York City. And when y'all all, because it looks like it's going to happen, when all you New Yorkers that stay there, start bitching and whining about how bad it is, look no further than your image in a mirror, because y'all elected this guy. You fell for it. You drank the Kool-Aid and you bought the snake oil on the counter on the corner from some dude you didn't know. So there is no such thing as a free lunch. There has never been such thing as a free lunch. Ever. There's never been such thing as a free lunch. There ain't no free housing. There ain't no free groceries. There ain't no free health care. There ain't no free fucking bus rides. There ain't no free subways. None of that shit's free. Somebody's got to pay for it. And his plan was that I saw him, I think this morning or yesterday on the news, was he spouted off. He don't have a plan. The guy has no experience of managing anything. He couldn't manage 5 people cleaning toilets in a damn Hotel 8 or a Motel 6. He's got zero managerial or leadership skills. He's a con artist. Please tell me the people of New York City are smarter than this. Just saying. All right. That's all my politics. That's it. Now I'm going to make my confession. Hang on, Chris Clayton. Here it comes. I have never watched any of the series, and I'm looking over here. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There are 7 movies in this series. I've never watched one of them until yesterday. I'm going to tell you why. And my wife watched it with me. I'll tell you why we watched it. It's called Tremors. I confess, I've never watched them. It never appealed to me. I saw some clips. I probably walked into the Chiefs mess a couple of times and saw it and go, that looks like that's stupid as shit. And I was right. So, a couple of days ago, we get a text from a very good friend of ours. She's a nice, upstanding Southern lady. She's funny. She's a good mama. She's a good citizen. She's a good friend, as is her husband, who's a retired U.S. Navy captain, pilot. But she sends us a text message, and it's somewhat vague. And she said, the basement scene in Tremors is you and Laura, and that's a compliment. I'm like, boy, I gotta chase that carrot. Laura's like, what the hell does that mean? I said, I don't know. I've never watched those movies. The Tremors, just Tremors. I said, I don't know. So we inquire, what do you mean? She said, just watch the movie. And the basement scene is a compliment to you and Laura. Oh, hell, gotta chase this rabbit. So yesterday evening, me and my bride, we take the liberty of finding the movie Tremors, the original one, on Amazon Prime, free, and we watched it. That's 96 minutes of my life I will never get back. But we watched it because Miss Holly told us to. She didn't tell us to. She motivated us to. Anyway, Tremors. So I did a little research this morning after I watched it. After it was over with, me and Laura looked at each other and I said, don't even go there. Don't ask me to watch the other damn 6 or 7, whatever it is, the other 6. So here, the movie Tremors, let me give you all a little background and I'll get to the other part. So the original movie came out in 1990. That's when the original one came out, 1990. Excuse me, I'm going to look over here and read. But it was classified in 1990. It was released on January the 19th, 1990. But it was classified as an American monster movie. But yet its genre is a comedy, and it is. It's comical, and it's borderline stupid, but it's funny. It's like watching Mel Brooks films or Monty Python or something. So I'm going to read y'all a little bit of the text. This is off of Wikipedia, but it says the movie, directed by Ron Underwood, produced by Brent Maddock and S.S. Wilson, written by also Maddox and Wilson and Underwood. So I guess there were 3 people involved. And let me see. And it's got the stars in it are Kevin Bacon, Fred Ward, Finn Carter, Michael Gross, and none other than Reba McEntire. How about that? So Kevin Bacon was, I got my notes here. Kevin Bacon was 32 years old when 32 or 31 years old when they started filming this, and they released, when the movie released, he was 32 years old, or give or take a year. So, because I don't know what month he was born in, it doesn't matter. Reba McEntire, she was 35 years old when this movie was released. And I'm not going to dive deep into the Fred Ward and the Finn Carter, and I think Fred Ward, if I remember right, he was in that movie Sweet Home Alabama, and he can be a funny guy. Anyway, so the movie is about these huge freaking monster, fast crawling. I'm talking fast, big massive worms that open their mouth. And then these things come out, and then they'll get you, and they got like snake heads on the end of them, and they'll get you, and they'll pull you on the ground, and that big thing eats you. So, what's I think even more hilarious? It talks about the props, and in the movie, you know, they're in that country store. I forget the name of it. But they're in that little country store in a place called, what was the name of that town? Hold on. Perfection, I think it was, Nevada. Yeah, Perfection, Nevada is the name of this town. And they're in that town, and there's an Oriental guy. I guess he's the owner of this little country store and gas station, and he buys the first piece of one of them for $15, and he's an entrepreneur. He's a capitalist, and he's wanting to come up. He's a capitalist, so he's wanting to come up with a name. He's got people taking pictures of the little piece they cut off the bottom of the truck, and he wants to come up with a name of them. And he came up with a name, a graboid. A graboid. It grabs you. It's a graboid. Somebody, a guy named Matt Frank, and I'm going to click on it, came up with an illustration. If you want to see something funny, this just shows you, I'll just say it, how weird some people are bored. Rather than do a podcast, he draws illustrations. But there's an illustration by Matt Frank inspired by the work of Shoal Atamo. I don't know who the hell that is. I messed his name up. But it's a graphic illustration of what a graboid would look like. And y'all, I'm talking about, it's got like a cutaway view. It shows the internal organs, his powerful muscles, shows his fat storage, shows the little snake heads that come out of its mouth. It shows the nerve ganglions, the venom sacs, shows what the grabbers are, shows shows it's got an inner ear. No shit. Wow. Shows it's got a brain, which is really tiny. It's got multiple hearts. It's got a spinal cord, a nerve cord. It's got a stomach. It's got a ectoskeleton. It's got these spikes, which the girl touched in the movie. It's even got a digestive tract. And get this. The illustration of the graboid, the big worm in the movie Tremors, has got an anus. Yep. Somebody did an illustration of the graboid, and he's got a asshole. And inside of this illustration, you got to look at it. Why? Because it's freaking funny. It's got a picture of the stomach, but the stomach in this illustration has a human body inside of it. You can see the remnants of a human body, a person's arm, and it looks like maybe their head or something, or a foot. I don't know. Anyway, freaking funny. So, all right, that's it about the illustration. But the movie it was written by these two dudes named S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock. And according to what I read, this guy S.S. Wilson and they keep saying his partner, and then they'll say his writing partner. I'll tell you about something else about that. But he said he was inspired to write the movie when he was out doing some kind of thing in the desert, and they were out there on rocks, and they picked up a piece of wood and pole vaulted from one rock to another one, and then he filed that memory and thought, I'll write a movie about this, because what if there was something in the desert that was trying to jump up and grab you? And that's how, anyway, writers and entertainers, they have different minds than everybody else, so they anyway. So, but this guy, S.S. Wilson, he's the same guy that wrote Short Circuit, that movie that came out that was pretty popular. So S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock, did I say his name right? Yeah, Brent Maddock, Maddock, they sold the script for this movie for $350,000. And back then, that was a lot. So, this box office, I think they had like where's their budget? They had a $10 million budget. $10 million. And that's to pay for everything. That's everything. So they had a $10 million budget, and according to the records that I found, this movie generated back then, this is an old number, but damn near $17 million worth of revenue. So, and today, I guess people still watch it. Hell, I don't know. Maybe the fact that Laura and I watched it on Amazon sent them a nickel. I don't know, and don't care. All right, so that's the movie. I guess internationally it only went to New Zealand, and then get this, in New Zealand, it ranked in the movies in New Zealand, it ranked number 32,878, way down at the bottom, and it generated $1,005 in profit, in revenue. I'm sorry, not profit, just so I'm like, damn. It was a poor showing in New Zealand. Anyway, all right. So that's enough about that. So the movie, Tremors is what it's called. But anyway, it was stupid, man. It was stupid. The what do you call it? The graphics, the props. It was hilarious. And then how many people are out in the middle of the desert, in the middle of freaking blank nowhere, and they're on some rocks, and they go, hey, we're gonna pole vault over to those rocks, and lo and behold, there's some long, round, perfect sticks nearby to pole vault. So I thought it was stupid. And I really thought it was cool how Kevin Bacon talked that girl out of her britches to save her. I thought it was cool. So back then they wore panties. Today, that was film today, she'd have been wearing either A, nothing, B, had a thong, or we would have found out it was some transvestite and she would have had a pecker. Who knows? So, okay. Enough about that stuff. And and I was doing all this reading. I was going because this is about AI now. I was doing all this reading about this guy S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock. I'm not saying they're homosexuals. I'm not saying they're gay. Nothing. I just kept reading. I thought it was odd. Everything I read would focus on that they were partners. And I went and I looked at their bios. You can't find out enough about these guys. So I Googled. Get this. I Googled. Where's it at? Was he? I just Googled and said, let me find it here. Where's it at? Where's it at? Man, I must have messed it up. But I Googled, was S.S. Wilson. I'll do it again. I'm going to do it again. I thought I have a point here. This is interesting. Hang with me here. There we go. Where's it at? Okay, I Googled, was S.S. Wilson and Brent Maddock gay? And it's very vague, but it just kept saying they were film partners, and there's no history of that or all that kind of stuff. So now I'm going to say is just the guy. Let me watch this. There's a point in this. Hang with me here. Okay, here we go. This is interesting. This come up. This is completely different, and this is AI. Nat come up with something completely different. Is that the same guy? That may be a different guy. Let me see. Hold on. I know this is like anybody that does a podcast said, Jerry, this is not how you do it. I get it. Okay. Yeah, this is it. Says the writer S.S. Wilson, known for Tremors, has not publicly identified. He has not publicly identified himself as gay. It is important not to confuse different writers and to respect their individual privacy regarding their sexuality. So AI generated this little catchphrase saying that basically will protect their privacy and you shouldn't ask. And you get something similar to that if you do it to Barack Obama. But if you do that to Donald Trump, you get a completely different answer. I just thought that was interesting. You always say, look for what you see and look for what you don't see and listen to what you don't hear. So I just thought that was interesting how that was different. They come up with a whole different spin on it. All right. Anyway, so you're probably thinking, well, Jerry, where the hell are you going with this? All right. So again, the movie is about these two guys, Fred Ward and Kevin Bacon, and they're like, to me, I get the impression they're handyman. They run some salvage yard. And they put up fences for people, and then they go do something else, and they go do something else. They're just trying to get by, and And they're fed up and like, we're getting the hell out of here. And they don't get out of Perfection, Nevada because they start finding dead people. And they're driving down the road, they hit the brakes, and they look up on a high-power transmission tower, and there's a guy, and Kevin Bacon says, I know who that is because that's the only jacket he ever wears. He climbs up there, and there's a dude up there dead with a lever-action rifle, and the coroner says he died of dehydration and exposure. So something chased this old boy up this tire, and he stayed up there long enough that he died. So, and this is one of those movies. That you and I and anybody can watch and go, and as soon as you see a person, a new character enters the scene, you're like, they ain't gonna make it. So like the two guys working on the construction crew on the road, the highway guys, I said, they ain't gonna make it. And then the telephone guy, we never saw him. He didn't make it. And then that man and woman out in the desert gonna build them a house, but they're living in the back of their damn station wagon. As soon as I saw them, I said, they ain't gonna make it. Even the Oriental Asian guy who owned the store, I watched him for long enough. He hung around a long bit. I said, he ain't gonna make it. And then I actually thought that other woman with that little girl, I said, they ain't gonna make it. And that little girl that was Mindy, she made it. She actually was the same girl in the movie Jurassic Park, the girl that was in the tree, and she was like, oh my gosh. But that was a little blonde girl. She actually made it. And of course Reba made it, and the rest of the gang made it. Anyway, there was another guy the guy, I forget his name, but the guy that was on top of the damn little cheesy motorhome, he hung in there a while, long as the Asian guy did, but I said, he ain't gonna make it. He didn't make it either. So they got these worms in the desert, and the worms are smart, even though they got a little brain, according to the illustration, and they can come up through the floor. They'll tear shit down. They'll rip out the foundation, and they're lickety split. They'll take off, and they can't see. Evidently, they can't smell, but all they can do is sense and hear vibration. And they even get a bulldozer, and the damn thing actually digs underneath and gets the bulldozer to fall into a pit. In the movie, stupid. But here's the point. I've already been rambling on here for almost 30 minutes. The point is, a good friend of ours sent us that text message, and she said, watching Tremors, the basement scene is a compliment to you and Laura. And so we watched it. And lo and behold, the basement scene's up. And the basement scene is, what's his name? Hold on. The basement scene has Reba and Michael, I guess his name is Gross, Gross, Gross. Anyway, they're like survivalists. They're like preppers that live out in the desert, and they built them a fortress, and they got a knight. Man, and it just really ticked me off. He had an '89 Chevy Blazer. He had an '89. Well, it was a GMC Jimmy, but it doesn't matter. GMC Jimmy, Chevy, but it looked like a 1500 Silverado Chevy Blazer, which I had two of those in my lifetime. Those are nice vehicles. And they're in their little fortress, and the Kevin Bacon and those guys are over there across the way in town. They're on the top with binoculars, screaming at them on a radio. And this is great. And during this scene where they're communicating with a CB radio, and they're talking to Fred and not Fred, but Michael. What was his name? Bert. That's Bert. Bert's a famous guy. So they're talking to Bert and Heather. That's the two. That's their character's name. So they're talking to, what's his name? Val? Is it Val? Yeah. Val and Earl. So Val and Earl are talking to Bert and Heather with CB radios on the roof of the store. And they got them a little base CB radio unit. And they're on top of the store, and they're running around with the CB, and you can see the back of it where the AC power cord is supposed to plug into it. It has nothing. It's got a little telescopic, like a walkie-talkie radio antenna on the top of it, but they ain't got no power cord. They ain't got a bat. They ain't got nothing, but they're running around with what looks like a little Radio Shack. And I'm looking at Laura, I go, man, this is cheesy as shit. Really? They had a budget for $10 million for this movie? I know where that money went. It wasn't in props. I thought, oh my gosh, this is freaking hilarious. It was so funny, it was stupid. So the basement scene is Bert and Heather, Michael and Reba are in the basement, and the frickin' graboid, the big one, makes its way, comes through the wall in their basement. They run around, and the whole wall in the basement is firearms. And Bert is and Heather are just, man, they got more guns and ammo you can shake a stick at. And they're just boop, 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 boop. They're shooting, grabbing it. They're grabbing this, grabbing that. And they're talking language like, is that a 45-70? That's a 338 Win Mag, all this stuff. And I'm thinking, damn, is this the impression that somebody has of me? And me and Laura are dying laughing. We're rolling laughing. And we're taking pictures of our TV screen and sending it to our friend and go, is this it? And I'll post it on here. I'm going to show you the pictures that we shared, so you can see them there. There's it'll be over here, but there's the basement scene, and you'll see a series of movies shots there. There's the basement scene, and man, they're wearing that worm out with all their firearms and stuff, and they end up killing him. But it's kind of confusing because in the original part of the movie, that girl who's a seismologist, she says there's only 3 of those things, and I started counting. I lost count of like 7, and I'm like, well, damn, how many are there? There was evidently she wasn't accurate in her assessment. So anyway, that's all I got. I just thought it was funny that our friend sent us that text and said, you got to watch Tremors. The basement scene as a compliment to you and your bride. I thought, okay, never watched it. I will never watch the other 6. Hear my word. I'm confessing. I will never watch the rest of them. I can't believe that the budget was $10 million on this movie. They only grossed over right at $17 million. So I guess they cut themselves a profit. Them screenwriters, them old boys, they got $350,000 just for writing the damn thing. Maybe I should write something and try to sell it. I don't know. Anyway, it was pretty stupid. That's for sure. All right, that's all I got, folks. I'm actually going to get this one out somewhat in time. I didn't say what today was, but it is Wednesday. It is the 29th of October. And y'all be safe. Bicycle.